Welcome back to the channel again. The second topic in this area for the discovery sessions is centered around build and publish areas and involves knowledge management, the development of an API portfolio, onboarding of new staff, and how feedback can be obtained and then used to improve the engagement. As they say, knowledge is power, and therefore the discovery sessions should focus on how knowledge is gained, how and where it is recorded, and how it can be distributed to anyone who has an interest in the knowledge throughout the organisation. There's no point in collecting it if you can't use it and distribute it and make it easily accessible. So throughout the engagement, the delivery partner should be providing input to the customer. After all, that's what they're there for. And in addition, training will be in progress for organisational staff, and therefore knowledge is being acquired all of the time. But how is this captured? And importantly, as I've said, how is this passed on and made available? The discovery sessions will need to answer these questions, but should result, for example, in establishing a central repository for each type of collateral, such as APIs, documentation, course material, etc., etc. Now, overlapping with the knowledge management to a certain extent is the discovery sessions for the API portfolio, because these discovery sessions will focus on the development of an API portfolio and will cover areas such as how the API portfolio will be accessed and used by development teams across the organisation. Will it be populated by individual development teams or governed and populated by the C3 to ensure quality of reusable components and APIs? Or are you going to manage those in a different way? All of these questions need to be considered. Now, this may generate a lot of conversations during the discovery sessions, especially the contents of API portfolios, the ownership of portfolio, and access to the contents and how the API portfolio can be used to drive experimentation and innovation within the engagement. But beware, these discussions can, if you're not careful, go down technical rabbit holes which may be the subject of one session at the end of the discovery, but are not the primary focus of discovery sessions at this point in engagement. So remember, like I said in the previous video, a facilitator for each discovery session is very important in my view to actually focus and drive those discovery sessions. Now remember that we're still talking about organisational enablement discovery sessions and not deeply technical discussions at this point, like I've just said. Very important to reiterate that point. Exam tip. Remember that the Catalyst methodology runs alongside the organisational delivery methodology, not instead of, and can be adapted to work with any methodology. Now, I've talked about that in previous video, which I'll link up here. This is why I say that organisational enablement sessions may stray into technical areas, but the focus should be on enablement. Okay, so let's talk about onboarding. Now, at the start of the engagement, during the engagement, and after the engagement has completed and you go into business as usual, new staff will need to be onboarded to the organisation and the capability. Everything changes, so your department will change. New people will come, some people will leave. But in order to accelerate adoption and improve application quality, new staff members should follow an onboarding process to learn how effectively to deliver the work that they're being employed to do. Now, typically, most organisations will run this through a training course, but there will also be requirements to understand internal standards and best practices which have been developed by the organisation through the engagement and into BAU. The discovery sessions in this area will need to identify a robust, repeatable process to onboard new staff at all levels of the organisation, and that may change as experience goes on. Now obviously this will be individual to each organisation, so I can't really give you much guidance about these sessions other than to say the outcome should be a documented process with reference to all of the courses, materials, standards and documents that are required to onboard all levels of staff. Remember, as with all things, and I realise you're probably sick of me saying this, establish a baseline of what works and change what doesn't, and constantly review the process. Which leads me very nicely into the final discovery topic in this area, feedback. Very, very important. We should never underestimate the importance of feedback, but the discussions on discovery might go in some directions that you never anticipated, so be aware of that. Some of the discovery sessions may focus on how feedback should be obtained, for instance from regular clinics that anyone can attend, emails to generic email addresses, recordings from meetings, and that's just to name a few. But other sessions may look at how feedback is progressed, perhaps into a backlog of work, or how feedback is managed. It's very important to get that feedback and act upon it. Business tip: however you decide to collect feedback and manage it, always go back to the team or person providing the feedback and explain how it will be managed, even if the feedback is rejected. I say this for a number of reasons. Primarily, it shows that you're listening for feedback and considering each suggestion, even if the suggestion is rejected. And if it is rejected, always explain why the feedback has been rejected. Also, if it's accepted, explain how you're going to use it. People will be much more engaged with the capability if they think that you are listening to them. And so we come to the final topic for organisational enablement discovery sessions, which is evangelisation. And this is something that is really close to my heart, because this is one of the main things that I actually do in my work life. Evangelisation is concerned with making the API-led connectivity approach the first choice for integration. The discovery topics, so we're talking about discovery topics, remember, still, should look at all of the communication opportunities across the organisation. Have sessions that work with the communication team to explore their various channels and the various forms of getting the message out there about the capability that you're building. You need to get people enthused about what you're actually doing. Now, some of the sessions can look at materials available or which need to be constructed. Other sessions can then look at technology solutions such as websites, communication screens that might be across your organisation buildings, while other sessions can discuss presentations, workshops, discovery sessions, etc., etc. And so we've come to the end of the videos on adapting Catalyst to common delivery methodologies, and actually the end of the section of the course on applying Catalyst principles. So I hope you will join me next time, when the video will focus on exam tips for this area of the certification, which, as I've said, accounts for about 9% of the marks available for the entire exam. But I hope that you've actually gained some insight and some useful tips on this area of the business, as well as, you know, using the Catalyst. And if you have, then please put some comments below and let me know if you would like me to change the sessions in any way, how you might want the sessions to be adapted to give you more input. And if you are looking forward to the next section, which I certainly am looking forward to, then please subscribe to the channel. Like I say always, please give the video a like. It lets me know that the content is being viewed, and I would appreciate any of the comments, like I said. So hopefully I'll see you for the exam topics, and then after the exam topics for a completely new area of the course. And I hope I'll see you then.